That's your cue,
It's
Kurt.
not often you get an opportunity to meet a legend. It's even better when you meet over nachos.
But some of these bullets, as you saw, have an incendiary device on the tip of it, which is a heat-seeking device.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Welcome to your weekly dose of BS, the Holistically Speaking podcast.
Woohoo! You know, Gary, I was
think I'm
listening to
getting
it.
severe camp delay here again.
Oh, that's not good. Gary, I was listening to a couple of your podcast episodes in preparation for this week. And one of the things that I appreciated the most about your podcast is at the beginning of them, you often have like these clips of these politicians saying stupid things, like Biden talking about his hair turning blonde in the sun.
His legs, his hairy legs. Yes.
His hairy legs. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I bonded with you over that because I like our intros with our stupid politician phrases.
Well, you know, that's not why we're friends, but you know, after I came home from SHOT Show, I cruised around on the YouTubes and I found that your politicians say stupid things too, and so I'm planning to, with your permission, capture some of that.
Oh, you go right ahead.
Yeah,
It's so cute that you're just now starting to realize that.
If you're looking
We've
for a
been
good
living
place to start, Gary, you're going to want to look up a Canadian politician by the name of Goody Hutchings.
Oh, sounds great. Is
She
the one that has
loves.
the 22 gauge.
That's right. She's the 22 gauge for Moose and Black Bear. What is it? Moose, Black Bear, and ptarmigan?
Ptarmigan, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
She's special
Hey.
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, special
I'm a
is
big fan.
one way to put it.
Big
Yeah.
fan.
Well, guys,
I'd
obviously
like to see
we're
that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go, Chris.
okay. Well, I was going to say we're here with Gary Lewis from Gary Lewis Outdoorsman. If you don't know what that is, Gary Lewis Outdoorsman is a really interesting hunting show on Hunt TV in the U.S. Or did you say that you were on Wild as well, or?
Yeah, we were on Wild TV for a while, and we probably still are under our Frontier Unlimited TV show name, and probably also under Gary Lewis Adventure Journal. That was the name of the TV show before.
Oh, there you go. So everybody who subscribes to Wild TV, especially in Canada, you should be able to get some Gary there. You also have your YouTube channel, Gary Lewis Outdoorsman. And you've got a podcast, Gary Lewis Outdoorsman podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. You're all over the place, Gary.
That is the plan. To be all over the place.
Covering
Yeah.
bases.
Cover your bases. Well, we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking with Gary tonight about all kinds of things: hunting, shooting, maybe a little bit about being all over the place, a man about town, all over the medias. And,
Numerology. We might get into that.
Maybe numerology, astrology. I love the conspiracy theories. We can get into some conspiracy theories. We can do the whole 9 yards, man.
Hey, also, I want to get it right off the top. We also need to talk to Gary about blunderbusses.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Blunderbusses. Yes.
Just putting that out there right now.
Yeah. Are those still legal for you guys?
Thankfully,
Geez,
yes.
that one hasn't been addressed. We took care of all the paintball guns and the rocket launchers.
Actually,
they may have missed blunderbusses.
Hold on. I am actually going to say that blunderbusses are illegal in Canada.
Oh no.
They have a bore. They have a bore diameter greater than, what is it, 20 millimeters?
20 millimeter.
20 mil.
Yeah.
They have a bore diameter greater than 20 millimeters.
Now
Our government. No.
Here's
There's
snow.
no.
they
This,
cleared,
it's
they
them.
cleared that up. They said the bore diameter is just forward of the chamber. Because if you
No,
have
no,
a
no.
removable choke, that was the big thing about removable chokes.
They did not clear that up in the regulations. Bill Blair went public and said, "No, that's what we meant," but that's not what they wrote in the regulations.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what Bill Blair says on TV. What matters is how they wrote the
It
regulation.
never matters what that asshole says.
Yeah, Bill Blair, Gary. In case you didn't know, he was our Minister of Public Safety and horse crap
Nice.
up until 2020, guys.
It's all a blur. Anyone who takes that
Yeah.
job is immediately turfed. So
Right.
Yeah,
bit of a revolving door.
I'll tell you one thing about Bill Blair, though. His connection to the tariffs that are inevitably going to happen. You know what? Your alcohol distributors down there are really going to feel the pinch because that guy
Yeah.
probably keeps several of them in business.
Bill likes his hooch.
I dare you to tell me I'm wrong.
Oh no, I'm certain of it. Yeah.
Purple nosed bastard.
Oh, guys, before we get too deep into talking with Gary, we should pay our bills.
I suppose I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, you're getting emotional already. Who's going to lead?
I'll go.
oh, go ahead.
Did I get it? Did I win that?
You win.
You got
Awesome.
dibs.
All right, tonight's show, as always, brought to you by Callsign 66, Canada's best rifle training. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Book a course now at callsign66.ca. Follow them on Instagram at callsign66, spelled out, and on Flakebook at callsign66. That's C/S66.
We're
Go next.
also brought to you by Ribstone Gunsmithing. Craftsmanship done right. Contact Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back into any firearm.
And we are also brought to you by Mark Scopes Canada. The Dion Optical Design line of rifle scopes has a scope for all your hunting and shooting needs. Find Doug and Niza at markscopes.ca.
All right.
Also, Sterling Arms I want to read it like a dipshit now. Also, Sterling Arms International, home of the R18 Mark III, soon to come back to Canada, and the new R9 PCC. Contact them at sterlingarms.com. Look out for the R9. Oh, this is old. The R9 is in some stores already. If it's out of stock, just wait longer. It'll come back into stock. Also, keep an eye out for the R9 500 round video that should be hitting early to mid next week. I took this sucker right here out to the range today because it wasn't minus 35, and I put 500 rounds in a row through it, and I got to tell you, it did pretty good. So you guys are, if you're interested at all in the R9 and looking to get one and you want to see whether it actually shoots or not, then look for that video coming out early next week. Boom.
Excellent. And Apex Optics. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Check out all the fine competition rifle scopes, red dots, binoculars at apexoptics.co. Stay tuned for more updates on their recent releases, the Vapor 1-4 Prism, Ion, and the Edge. Edge Black, made in the USA. I wasn't aware of that.
You weren't aware of that?
I guess I mustn't have been listening when we were talking to him at SHOT Show.
That's how you avoid
It's the
tariffs.
Mhm.
I see.
We're also brought to you by EM Precision Rifles in Vegreville, Alberta, building Canada's finest precision rifles. Find Shane and Steve on Facebook, Instagram, and on their website at emprifles.ca. This weekend only, you'll find them at actually the Vegreville Gun Show, in which you will find also Mike and I on Saturday. So if you're in the area, stop in, say hi to our friends at EM Precision Rifles, and say hi to us.
That's tomorrow.
It is
That's tomorrow, yeah. And Sunday, I think.
And we're also brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Order coffee and merchandise at boltactioncoffee.com.
And finally, Odell Engineering. Pick up a Canuck shotgun or a Berg Arrow rifle from your local distributor and tell them Phil sent you. And we're really excited over the next couple of weeks, perhaps to get our hands on a couple of the new Canuck lever action rifles. I'm really kind of looking forward to that. I hope that we can make that happen. But if it does happen, keep your eyes out and your ears out, folks, because you're going to hear us plugging away with some lever guns.
Excellent. We got Yukai Kazi in the stream there in the chat already, as usual. And Joel Anthony. I haven't seen that name come up in a few podcasts. Nice to have you.
Hey, Joel, how's your bolt action working there, Joel? I hope that's still working out.
Would
for
like
you.
some pictures.
We never did get any, did we? He sent
4
us one of his kids shooting it.
Yeah.
So Gary, what was it, 4 years ago now?
Yeah,
Sure. Or three.
Anyway, I think,
Three
yeah.
3 years ago, give or take. We did a custom built rifle draw with one of our sponsors, the M Precision Rifles, and we gave away and with Apex Optics. So it came with an Apex rival optic on it, and Joel won it, and it was a great looking rifle. It was Cerakoted in black camo and had the Apex rival on it, and it was just amazing. And so Joel won it, and we said, "Hey Joel, send us some photos." You're like, "Yeah, I'll do that." He sent us one picture of one of his kids shooting it, which was great. But that's it. That's all we've ever gotten.
He was too busy making really awesome upholstery. Have you seen some of the stuff that he does in cars and all that kind of stuff?
He does custom upholstery. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. You bet.
Oh, that's pretty cool. He says he loves it. He plays with it all the time. What he does not do is send us photos of it.
Relentless dicks.
But we mean well.
True.
So
Mostly.
Gary.
Yeah.
Gary Lewis Outdoorsman. I'm really interested in hearing how you got started. And like how does one build the Gary Lewis Outdoorsman life around him?
Well, I
just grabs the mic. I'm ready to go.
I grew up in a religious cult. I grew up in a religious cult, and one of the first things they do is they beat you down and they try to throttle your dreams. And the thing I wanted to be from the time I was little is I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write books. And when we got out of the religion when I was 21 and my wife was 22, that dream started to come back. I wanted to be a writer, and I was working in electrical engineering, and every day I'd go to the office, I'm working on lighting and power and that kind of thing. Every day I go to the office, I think, man, how do I get out of this?
Get out of the office.
Second marriage.
And I was getting into bow hunting, and I was reading articles in bow hunting magazines, just devouring them. And I thought, man, I can write this stuff. And so I started, and, it wasn't too long. I had a newspaper column going, and people were paying me and opened up a little stream of income that way. And then I started thinking about, okay, how am I going to get a book published and go that direction? And then there came a moment, and for me, it was actually 2002 when I realized I could do this full time. And so I scaled back the other things I was doing, and then I've been a full-time outdoor writer ever since. And then got a little bored in 2007, and that's when the TV show started. And I can't really take credit for starting the TV show because another guy that was his idea, and we started it together, and haven't been bored since. TV causes all kinds of problems in my life, but they're the kind of problems I like to have.
Can I backtrack just for a second? I have never met someone who grew up in a cult before.
Oh yeah, you have.
Well,
Yes,
nobody
you have.
who will admit it publicly.
I know. I know.
Not even the cult of personality.
Yeah. What
You know-
is that like?
Well, it's a mind control thing, and so if they can control your time and control what you believe, and if you believe the lies, then you're in. And so
Okay.
we call them the 2x2s.
We call them Canadians.
The
Yeah,
2x2s.
And so that's a good point, Kurt, because there's different levels of cult kind of influence in the things that we get involved in. It could be the military or the fire department, or it might be a religion. But there is some of that, and some of the successful businesses that people start and run are run like cults.
Yeah.
So
Depends on how you define it, I suppose.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a sliding scale.
Right. Keep sliding.
I just find that super interesting. I to my knowledge, well, what's weird, around where we are, we've got what people would maybe consider sort of cultish, but not really. We got the Hutterites and we got Mennonites and that's maybe a little bit different, or maybe it's not. I don't know. But I've never heard. I'm not aware of anyone that I know that has ever grown up in a cult before. I don't know why I find it interesting, but I do.
Chris, I'm pretty sure you know some Toronto Maple Leafs fans. Let's be honest here.
We don't want
I
to talk about that.
I don't follow hockey at all, even a little bit. So I never
You
have.
don't have to follow hockey. You just have to know about Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
I
So-
don't know anything about them. I know literally nothing about them. I guess I've lived a sheltered life, huh?
Mm.
Maybe I grew up in a cult.
Yeah, you might still be in one.
No
Bit of
outside
awakening here.
contact. Yeah.
I want to tell you guys about what happened to me last week.
Okay.
The coldest day of the year for us, it was -7 degrees Fahrenheit. So what's
Yeah.
that for you guys?
That's got to be
T-shirt.
minus 20 something.
No.
Maybe not so much.
Minus 7 is minus 21.6 degrees Celsius. Wow, fuck you guys. Carry on, Gary. So minus 7 Fahrenheit.
Well, -7, and so two things broke in our well house, and our well house is shared by 4 homes, and our water heater pressure spiked, and the little valve that blows off the pressure just happened to blow while my wife was walking through the garage, and I was out doing a radio show in town, and when I got back, there was all these buckets catching water, and
Oh no.
she had got it shut off, but all that water went down into my ammo storage.
Oh no.
And so that was where my 12 gauge and 20 gauge ammo was. So I spent all that afternoon and evening drying off shotgun shells individually, and taking them out of boxes, and then drying out the boxes on the wood stove, and then putting it all back. And then I had to dump a bunch
Just
of
tell
ammo.
me it didn't get the 22 gauge ammo. Please. Please. It's so versatile.
Derek, don't give Federal any ideas.
It's hard to get to.
Yeah, hard to get to.
So I wanted to ask you guys, you and I were at the same SHOT Show, and I just want to know, did you get sick?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got sick.
Yeah, me too.
I
saw
was what down
Jesus.
Tuesday night and done for the rest of the week.
Yeah, he was sick like the day after we went for nachos with you, Gary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, yeah, that's right. The day after, yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. For me, I thought I skated. You know, I get home and I was home for a day and a half or so, and then I started feeling it, and then it was on.
Oh, how long did it last for you?
It was a week.
Yeah,
Holy
man.
cow.
So we left Las Vegas on Saturday morning. Was it, Kurt?
Yes.
Yeah,
You left
okay.
Saturday morning, Jens, and I took off early afternoon. I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, me and Mike left Saturday
Right.
morning. So I left Las Vegas Saturday morning for Orlando, and of course I had a shit show with the flights. Didn't get to Orlando until 5:30 in the evening, and even though we got to the airport at what was it, like quarter after 4 in the morning, quarter after 5 in the morning. And so anyway, I was feeling okay during the morning. Like I knew I was fighting something even on like Thursday and Friday, but I was doing okay. I was fighting it off. Saturday, got to the onto the plane, the whole 9 yards, and maybe an hour outside of Orlando, I start to feel like I'm just achy and I can't get comfortable, and the thing's starting to suck. Maybe 15 minutes before we taxi, I realized that I'm freezing, but I'm sweating.
Yes.
Oh no.
And I'm shaking. I'm shivering. I'm like, I can't stop. And I'm like, oh man, the last thing I need is for people to see me shaking like a leaf on an airplane. So again, I'm just having, I had a rough go, Gary, during COVID on airplanes. I actually had one point where I was escorted off of an airplane by the RCMP, not for like being like that asshole that you see on videos all the time, but it happened. And I really just did not enjoy that time. So I had a little bit of PTSD about it. So we land, I stand up, I get my bags, and I'm standing in the aisle, and I'm trying not to shiver. I'm trying not to shake. And so I'm kind of like, I'm moving around, shifting from leg to leg. So I'm like, well, if I'm moving, then people can't tell that I'm shivering. If I'm trying to stand still, then I'm just standing there like shivering the whole time. So I get off of the bloody airplane, and I realize that like I can barely walk. I feel like absolute garbage. I'm going to pass out, but I have to walk across the airport. Got to take the tram, go to leave the airport. I got to go pick up my car rental. Despite the fact that it was all supposed to be pre-booked, they didn't get me my car. So I'm sitting there while they try and figure that out. Turns out they didn't do it because at the same time I had a car rented in Saskatoon back home because for my business. And so they're like, you can't have two rentals in two different countries at the same time. So yeah, so I was sitting there shivering with this massive fever while I get all this horse crap sorted out. And so it got to the point where I'm handing the lady my credit card, and I'm like, I should spit on this credit card before I hand it to you. I want you, because she was such an asshole about it. But anyway, I get in my car. It had heated seats, so it's 20 degrees above in Orlando, Celsius, which is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's warm in Orlando, and I turned on the seat heater, and I have the heat going full blast in this car. It got to the point where I could feel like I moved my hands on the wheel, and like the rest of the steering wheel was hot, but I was like just getting to the point where I was stopping shivering. But and I get into my hotel room, I crawl into the bed. I'm there for the next 24 hours until I have to go pick up my buddy at the airport. Mostly slept it off, but not entirely. Ended up training in jiu-jitsu for the rest of the week, still kind of sick.
As you do.
Yeah, but man, it was, SHOT Show flu is real this year. There's no question about that.
I just want to check in with you guys and see how you do coffee when you're at SHOT Show. Like, do you go out for coffee in the morning, or do you sit in the room and have coffee?
You drink coffee?
No, I'm in with you guys.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee in the morning.
Okay.
I had a
What about you,
case of
Mike?
energy drinks in the fridge.
Yeah, I tried the horrible Folgers decaf in the place we were staying at once.
In the room.
Yeah.
So in those little coffee makers that they have in the room, is that
Mhm.
what you did?
Yeah.
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 Do you
But,
know why
we
you
didn't-
don't? Do you know why you don't do that, Kurt?
No, I don't.
Well, it's Las Vegas, honey.
Okay.
Oh no.
And,
I was wondering why I was.
and what is
missed a
that?
block
What
of
is that
time.
little hot pot look like to a girl who has to do her laundry?
A very small laundry machine.
Well, thanks for putting
That's so
that
gross.
in my head.
It's so gross.
I don't think we had that issue staying in the accommodations we were staying
Yeah.
at.
Yeah,
So
look,
you're saying smell it first. Roger that.
So when I was coming home, we had a bowel emergency on the airplane because the
I don't know if I want to hear this.
the airline that I fly there on has a direct flight from my town to Las Vegas, and so it's great, but
Mhm.
it was 7 hours delayed going
oh,
back, and I was hanging out with the guys from Nosler, and we were having a great time. But after 7 hours, some of the people who had things under control don't have them under control anymore. So we had one in the waiting area and one on the airplane, 2 different people.
Oh
wow. Imodium is the experienced traveler's secret weapon. I've been to enough developing countries to know that you always travel with Imodium.
We're
Take
learning
care
a
of
lot.
parasites.
Actually, I was reading a interesting book. It was called Codename Dynamite, and it was the memoirs of a MACV-SOG Vietnam veteran. They're the
Okay.
division that would go into Laos and Cambodia and do missions with, that weren't supposed to be done. And part of the preparation was taking Imodium so that when they're doing the operation, you didn't have to go number 2. Because as soon as you have to go number 2, that compromises the mission, that smell, that's time you're not in combat. So it is also a important combat tool. So
Imodium is an important combat tool.
yes, you can quote me on that.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Gary, let's get back into you. Okay, so
Okay.
we figured out that you grew up in a cult. You left the cult at 21. You wanted to write a book. You got into the TV show, but you worked for Nosler at some point, didn't you?
Yes, and that was the best move I could have made as a young person getting out of engineering. I burned all my books. I burned my formulas. I broke my tools. Everything that I needed to do electrical engineering, I got rid of so that I wouldn't ever do it again. And a week later, I was working for Nosler. They hired me as a buyer. They're in the town that I live in, and every day I thank God that I had that job. And I didn't work there very long, and they poured a lot of time and effort and expense into me. And it's been a great relationship with Nosler ever since, and I've learned a lot from them, and I try to give back. I've written 2 books about the company and the founding, and so they sponsor the television show. They're our title
Yeah.
sponsor. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Quite a
pretty
long
cool.
history there with Nosler, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's all connected to British Columbia. It all
Really?
Is that right?
it all started in British Columbia and the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, with John driving up the highway from Oregon through Washington into Canada and hunting moose and
Right.
sorting
I
that out.
read that story now that
Mhm.
you say it. Long,
And I want to
long
send you guys some books that you can share with your viewers. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
bet.
very
Thank
cool.
you.
Absolutely.
Now that your postal service is working again.
Eh,
That helps.
I wouldn't say that it's working, Gary. They're not on strike, but I don't know if we say that it's working, that might be a bit of a stretch.
It's technically functional.
Right.
Agree to disagree.
So what's your favorite fun fact about Nosler that a lot of people don't know?
Well,
that's
the thing that you might not grasp right off the bat is that it was founded by one man who had an idea. And this is a guy who was an inventor. At the age of 19, he rebuilt the Model B Ford crankshaft, the Ford Model B crankshaft. And then was into auto racing. And then when he got into hunting, he realized, he's a rifle enthusiast, just like us. This is John Nosler. And he was competing, he was hunting, and they were using the fastest bullets of the time, the fastest cartridges, 300 H&H, and the bullets were not performing. The bullet was not made that rifle could shoot for moose. And so he designed, this bullet. But the thing that people don't know about Nosler, I think, is the family behind it. And so John's story is fairly well known. I wrote Bob's story with Bob in this book, Born Ballistic. I'm going to send you guys some.
They weren't also in a cult, were they?
Nope. Nope. Not at this point,
Okay.
not at this point. And Bob took his experience in the Navy and he turned it around and brought it home and turned it to work on this company that his dad had founded. And if it wasn't for Bob, the company wouldn't have made it. And they had an industry partnership with Leupold and Stevens, the optics company. And because of that, they were able to keep going. And then Bob engineered the buyout of Leupold and returned it to family ownership. And in these days of corporate buyouts and private equity groups, Nosler has kept their company family owned, and they employ over 150 people in our area here now, producing a product that is used all around the world. So it's that family connection. So it's today the company is run by the third generation of Noslers, Jill Nosler and John Nosler, and so it's really inspiring to me, as a person who loves business. I do. I always watched them to see how's the third generation going to be. And when I met young John Nosler when he was 16 or 17, I said, oh, okay, they're going to be fine. And I knew Jill Nosler already. And I thought, okay, these people, they're going to be fine. and now I know the fourth generations too. They're coming up also.
That's a nice feel-good story right there.
It's pretty unique nowadays, hey? Like the family-owned business lasting that long, exactly like you say, with the sort of trend or whatever, the normality of the corporate buyouts and that by the bigger conglomerates and that. Interesting.
Yeah, I have grown to really appreciate the businesses that keep the ownership and maintain that to themselves and not sell out. And it's really hard, when that money is out there for the taking, to not go for it.
Yep. Especially with such big competitors out there for similar businesses. So I just want to add that John Sr., when he went through his thing, when his bullets were blowing up on moose and that, and he'd had enough, that's how the Nosler partition came to be. And I'm not sure when they started developing, like the ballistic tip. In my mind, was kind of the next bigger thing, and they were kind of on the leading edge of that in a sense as well.
Yes,
with the polymer tips, there'd been other companies, including Canadian. What the heck was that Canadian company that used to? I think they're in Montreal. Used to produce. No.
No.
CIL, Canadian Industries Limited.
Oh, yeah.
So they actually were doing, I can't remember whether they were steel tipped or aluminum tipped, very, very similar to what you see in the A-tip Hornadies. But anyways, I think Nosler was the first to do it with polymer tips, and it's been a highly successful bullet. And that partition, I think until recently, or at least throughout its entire life, actually has remained largely unchanged since coming to market in the first place. Am I right about that, Gary?
It is fundamentally the same. The way they manufacture it changed.
Sure.
From turning them on a lathe and pouring lead into the cavities, but it's fundamentally it's the same thing. Yeah, and I remember John mentioning the Canadian company to me while we were working on that that was back in 2003.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. I like that.
CIL does paint now.
Yeah, I think it's a
lot less cool.
CIL now, isn't it?
CIL Dulux, yeah.
So I noticed
fertilizer.
I noticed that you guys are lever action aficionados, as am I.
We're just getting into them, Gary.
We're officially dabblers, maybe.
Well, we're not even officially dabblers because we haven't even got our first one yet.
Stop ruining everything, Chris.
They're some of the cool. They're probably the coolest action design ever invented.
Okay, and they are. It's an action design that separates the men from the boys, and the men from the girly boys.
Which am I still?
And the men from the macho men.
Well, since you don't have chaps yet, Chris, you're still a girly boy.
Oh, I have chaps. You just have to wear regular pants with them because
I wouldn't have admitted that out loud.
They're not the performing chaps.
Oh, they're performance chaps, all right.
Those are chaps.
Chaps. Okay, so you were saying, Gary, about the lever action.
I've made it my mission in the last year to teach people how to shoot a lever action properly.
Oh,
okay.
And so let's see. I don't have one, but let's say that this is a lever action. So this is what I see. This is an underhammer muzzle loader is what this is. But
very neat.
This is what I see. I'll see a person shoot, and then they'll take the gun down like this, and then they'll cock it like that.
Right.
And then they'll get it back up. And you don't have to do that. If you're going to shoot it right, you leave it right at your shoulder, and you just cock and shoot, and
yeah.
And I had a lady over at the house, and she was shooting, and I said, "How did you learn to shoot like this?" And she says, "Watching John Wayne movies with my mom." And
Mom had good taste.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I would have recommended The Rifleman with Chuck Connors, but that's just me.
sure, yeah. There's a lot of good examples out there and bad examples.
There's a lot of bad examples out there. Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to getting into lever action. So we should have a 357 Magnum. Is it which pattern are those again? I can't remember, Derek. The Canucks.
That it escapes me right now.
Are they
What
92
pattern
pattern? Or
I would
92?
garner to say so.
I think it's the 1892 pattern Winchesters in 357. And then I believe that there's a mare's leg in 44 Magnum that we're looking at doing some work with. And I am in the process of buying a custom Henry carbine in 44 with all of the cool Midwest Tacticals furniture on it.
Oh, great! Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny. It's done. It's being held up right now because I want to paint the handguard and the buttstock, obviously. And what I want to do is I want to have this modern tactical lever action, but I want the modern buttstock and handguard to be wood grain.
Oh, okay.
So that's very difficult to do with Cerakote. So I've talked to a couple of local Cerakote guys, and they all like, yeah, it's really hard to do. You can kind of get the wood grain pattern with like a wire brush and sponge apparently, but I mean that obviously would take a lot of practice and artistic ability to be able to get done. However, if you hydro dip it, which
Right,
is
I was
just
gonna
as
say,
durable, then you can get the straight wood grain pattern that you want. I'm like, well, that's easy. We'll hydro dip it. Never thought too much about it until we went looking for a place to hydro dip. And at least in Alberta and Saskatchewan, pretty much all of the hydro dipping companies all folded during COVID.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hey, did you, while we're on this, did you try APA in bigger? Bigger
What's
Saskatchewan?
that? What's APA and bigger?
APA
Oh,
archery.
that's wonderful bows.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do hydro dipping?
They did at one time. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I actually saw him down at SHOT Show, but I didn't take the time to go talk to them about. So
Well,
yeah,
maybe I
look up
should
APA archery.
maybe I should do that. Okay.
Tell them I sent
Well,
you.
that would be great if they could. There is nobody in Calgary, Alberta, doing it right now. And obviously, Satch from Chinook Arms in southern Alberta is doing the rifle for me. So we were hoping to find a hydro dipper in like Calgary area. There's one guy who's got a website that says he does hydro dipping out of Cochrane, which is just west of Calgary. And I called him up, and he's like, "Yeah, I just do it as a side gig now. I'm the only one I'm aware of in the whole Calgary area, and I could probably do it in like a month and a half for you." And I'm like, "Okay." So then I'm looking in Saskatchewan. The only one I could find in Saskatchewan again was there was this chain of places that was headquartered out of Edmonton, and this place in Prince Albert was listed as one of their locations. Well, I called up the headquarters thing, the phone's disconnected, tried to call the Saskatchewan guy, the Prince Albert guy. He answered his phone, which is great. Had a great conversation with the guy. Turns out the guy in Edmonton shut down during COVID, screwed over all of his location managers that he was franchising to. And he's like, yeah, I'm just doing it as a hobby now, but he's working out in the mines. So he's like, I could probably get it done in 2 weeks. So my best prospect right now is waiting 2 weeks for this guy to come off site and and do it in 1AB knows exactly what I'm talking about. Liquid Customs, yeah. Liquid Customs is the what I'm talking about. So the former Liquid Customs location in Prince Albert is what I'm looking at right now. But hey, if APA could do it in Bigger, that would be amazing. Yeah.
Do you recall the guy's name in Prince Albert?
Mike.
You know what?
Seemed like a really swell guy.
He might be here.
On the other side of this wall.
While you were talking, I remember somebody saying that and his name is Mike. Why can't I think of his last name? I
don't have his last name anyway.
Raps. Oh, okay. Bell. Mike Bell.
That's him. He's on site with you right now. That is hilarious.
Yes, I saw him just today.
That is hilarious. I know that his name is Mike Bell because his email is belltrucking at something or another.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Well, now I can't ask APA Archery. We got to wait for Mike Bell now.
I'll talk to Mike. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to Mike for me tomorrow. That is hilarious. Gary, can we talk about you again?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
The tangents are unavoidable.
The problem tonight.
So you've got obviously too many irons in the fire to even list. I mean, is Frontier Unlimited the most recent iteration of the show?
It's the most recent iteration of the television show, yes. And then the podcast is called Gary Lewis Outdoorsman, right? And then when most of the time, if you ask me what I do, I talk about my magazine writing. And because I really love writing magazine articles and seeing them getting published in Rifle Magazine and Game and Fish Magazine and Sports Afield. I'll be in Sports Afield this spring with an Africa hunting trip story. And then I write for fishing magazines and I'm doing the thing that I set out to do. And when I looked around as a young man and said, what kind of lifestyle do I want to have? I wanted to have the Zane Grey lifestyle. So if you remember who Zane Grey was, I wanted to live like Zane Grey, where I travel, go where I want to, write about the things that I do. And, as an extension, TV goes along with that. So,
but then you got married and bought sheep.
Yeah, the sheep. We've had sheep for 5 years, and I just think, why didn't I get sheep sooner?
Well, I've asked myself that many times. If I had $1.
Are you raising, Gary? Are you raising the sheep for meat or for wool or for both? Or
they're replacement children, is what they are.
So they're meant. Yeah, they're meant to mow the lawn and shovel the sidewalk. Then
they are really good at cutting the weeds, and they're great. We have American black belly sheep. They're not woolies. They're black and brown. They're really beautiful, and they pretty much take care of themselves, except for they've eaten everything in their half-acre pen, and so we have to feed them hay and alfalfa and stuff.
Oh wow! How many have you got?
We have 7 right now because we just had a little baby born, and so we're expecting 2 or 3 more lambs in the next couple weeks.
So you've got about half a dozen sheep, and they eat a half an acre dry.
Oh, that did not take them very long. They if a blade of grass grows in their pen, they chomp it, and then they stand up on their back legs and eat the branches, and then we let them out and they cruise around the rest of our property and knock back the grass in the spring and summer.
Wow, I always thought it was just goats that would do that.
Yeah, these things will eat just about everything. They strip the bark off the trees when they don't have anything else to do.
Interesting.
Feed them some porcupines. That'll smarten them up.
And will they headbutt you like goats?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
will they actually?
Yes. I got hit by one of my sheep on the 1st of October, and I was getting ready to go. I was getting ready to go to Africa, and this thing hits me from the side, and I saw him come off his front legs.
Oh no.
And I've been able to stop it before, but I couldn't stop it in this moment. He hit me so hard. I thought he broke my leg. And I was
you told us this story in Las Vegas. Yeah.
so I was going to shoot him. I had my rifle and my ammo down there at the pen, and I was so angry. And then the neighbor had some people house sitting, and one of them had pink hair, and I thought, I can't shoot these sheep out in front of the pink-haired girl.
Yeah.
And so
She'll
that's
call
why
PETA.
Yeah, I don't know. It just would have been more trauma than I would have been wanting to.
You're lucky it was the pink hair. The purple haired ones are the more violent of the
Yeah.
groups.
It's like a sliding scale down to blue.
Yeah, at least we know that there's a system.
I just love this story though. I can just imagine you walking back into the house, and you're like half limping, and your wife's like,
yeah.
"Are you okay, Gary?" And you're hobbling, yeah. And you're like, "Where's the rifle, honey?" And she's like, "Why? Goddamn sheep headbutted me."
Never mind.
Oh yes, there was a lot of profanity.
I think that's just hilarious.
You got to read Yanzi's comment here.
The North American
Yes.
blue hair is the most violent, destructive predator in its system. That is
Agreed.
true.
Yeah, way overshadowing the historical cougars that we all know and love.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead and highlight. Here's Jens's comment for you there, Kurt. So for our audio listeners, go ahead and.
Yenzi says the next movie is about how Gary jumped into a minivan full of strange foreigners at a Las Vegas shooting range and went for lunch with them. This is how a horror movie starts.
Maybe we should let everybody know we were at Range Day for SHOT Show, and
Yeah,
we're
I'm not
tooling
sure
around.
who's more at fault here, to be honest, because didn't Gary make the declaration that he was just going to come with us?
yes.
Kurt just immediately looking for blame, right?
Yeah, nobody invited me. I
Uh-huh.
was inviting myself. That's for
Well,
sure.
we had. Did we run into you guys on the way in, or was it at one of the booths that we started talking?
Gary
to you guys?
offered us candy.
It
I'll
was
give you
at
some
one of
candy
the
if you let me in your van.
It was at one of the booths. Okay, so we met you and your crew at one of the booths, and we were chatting and talking. And then we went on our merry way, and then we decided we were done for the day, so we're leaving, and
because
you're
the
coming
wind
out.
was 45 miles an hour.
Like
Yeah, it was horrid. It was
we
horrid.
couldn't film. It was miserable. We tried shooting a couple of things. We didn't even go to the long range because you're holding minute of way over there.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
hearing aids were just screaming.
And I didn't have a jacket. So you were leaving at the same time. And so you started talking with Kurt, and I was kind of at the head of the group heading towards the van. And the next thing I knew, I just heard from behind me, "Well, Gary's coming with us." And I was like, who? I don't think I had actually met you at that point. I think at the booth, I only met your crew.
Kurt, did
So
you do a
I-
background check?
I'm like, who the fuck is Gary? And it's like, oh, there's Gary right there. Hi, Gary. And so you jumped in the van, and we all went and had nachos at Nacho Daddy's,
Right.
and that
Are you
and
a
that was how
serial killer?
the relationship
I mean,
was born.
What are the
Right.
chances of multiple serial killers being in the same van?
Well, I guess the idea did cross my mind, but
Something.
The only reason that we're still here is because he couldn't figure out how to get all four of us before
Yeah.
the rest of us responded.
I wasn't well equipped.
He was still angry at the shoot. Couldn't concentrate.
Okay, Gary,
Yeah.
you do every type of hunting, fishing, the whole 9 yards. Like
Yeah.
you even just a cursory look through like thumbnails on your website, and it's clear that you're doing everything. What's your favorite, hunting or fishing?
I love bear hunting.
Bear hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black
so
bear?
Black bear's high on my list of things that I like to do. And steelhead fishing, fly fishing for rainbow trout, these are the things that keep me sane.
Okay.
And then turkeys in the spring bear, fall bear, mule deer or blacktails, and that's a good year for me.
Wow. So you're out several times a year.
There was one year where I hunted and fished over 100 days, and I had to file an extension on my taxes that next year because I didn't have time to put stuff together. And I thought, okay, I'm a little bit too deep into this.
You're going to have to wait, IRS. I'm hunting.
Gone fishing.
Gone
Pay a
fishing.
penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So out of every 10 times that you go out hunting or fishing, how often are you filming for an episode?
We try to do 13 episodes a year.
Okay.
So when we're out shooting for a TV episode, it's a minimum of 2 days to get the content we need for the episode, and then it could be longer. Like when we were in Africa, we were there for 7 days, but we'll probably end up with 3 episodes out of that Africa trip.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mm.
And how many guys are on the crew with you?
It's me and Trevor usually, and you met
Okay.
Trevor there at SHOT Show, and sometimes we'll have another cameraman along.
Okay.
And as a helper or a second camera. It depends on the situation.
So is Trevor doing camera and like post production and everything, or?
He is responsible for the art direction. We have another guy doing the editing, and we have another we have a couple different guys doing editing for us. And depends, if it's a fishing episode, I'll send it one way. If it's a hunting episode, I'll send it another way. It kind of depends on who is good at what. And then Trevor will tune it up. I'll look over his shoulder and we'll make sure it's good to go. And then we have to make sure our advertisers are all in their good spots, in the episode. And they're 22-minute episodes where we have to throw in our commercials and then update the commercials from time to time. And we have the greatest sponsors.
Well, plug your sponsors real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Nosler is our title sponsor. Warren Scope Mounts, Camp Chef, Hoodoo Ski Area, Carson, which is an oil fuel company, the Thomas Sales and Service, which is a Ford dealership and a Shelby dealer, and Procure Bait Sense, the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce, and Sullivan Glove Company, and Aqua's Waders. Smarts.
So what was the last one you said?
Sullivan Glove Company.
Oh, sorry, the fourth last one. I'm sorry. Chamber of Commerce?
The Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce, yes.
Isn't that something? I thought the same thing.
That is awesome that you have a Chamber of Commerce sponsoring your show.
It really makes sense, guys. Chambers of Commerce, they need people to show up, and they need people to talk about their great destinations and why they're a great destination.
That's so neat.
Somebody write that down.
Yes.
Wow.
Write that down. Gary, you don't write it down. You already have it.
I have it written down already here.
Okay.
What's the dynamic like with a bunch of cameras following around?
Oh,
like on a
crazy.
hunter fish.
Okay, so I got a call from Minneapolis one day in March, and it was the producer for Bizarre Foods on the Travel Channel. and they wanted to put together a fishing episode with their host, who was Andrew Zimmern. And they asked me a few questions, and I answered the questions, and then they called me back and asked if I could help put together a trip. So as it all turned out, every question they asked me 3 times. And so I got so frustrated with them, but I didn't realize they had 19 people on their crew. They had a guy who his whole job was just to walk around and in high heel boots with a trench coat and smoke a cigarette and talk with a French accent. That was his only job. and there was another guy who his job was to fight with the host, and they argued constantly except for when the camera was rolling, and it was really uncomfortable. And then there was a drone operator, and then he had 2 guys watching him and guarding him. Then there was 19 people to catch one fish. And so that
I
means
can do that with half the amount of people.
Right. you have some jackass standing on the side. Hey, I think you're doing it wrong. You need a different lure.
So when I showed up, I put on my Ted Nugent wig, hair down to here, and I had a mallard duck decoy under this arm, and I'm wearing this Rush t-shirt. And
Represent.
I show up, and they thought I'd lost my mind.
So wait a minute, is this the first time that they're meeting you?
Yes, yeah, it was the first
Okay.
time they're meeting me. But everybody had to have their morning coffee and have their poop, and so they're an hour late to the boat launch, and the fish pretty much quit biting after the first hour of daylight. And so then we went out, but we were with a good guide, and he was awesome. He kept it cool, and Andrew managed to catch his fish, and then I had to eat the weird food.
Weird food.
Some gelatinous thing.
It was actually salmon sperm. I had to eat salmon sperm. So
What?
yeah, which is
What?
your
I'd be
answer.
charging extra for that. I'm sorry.
Tell me you haven't already.
What? Why? Why? Why?
Well, because he didn't catch a female salmon, he caught a male salmon, and so that's the name of his show, is Bizarre Foods.
Jesus Christ, that is
You-
something.
you-
All we have to do is kiss a damn codfish. What the hell?
Don't talk about that.
He caught a male salmon,
Yes.
and the natural thing that came to his mind was, let's eat its sperm.
Right.
It was
Which
the French guy. All the French guy.
yes.
I
don't know what to say right now. I want to see this episode. I really want to see this episode.
So salmon sperm is really easy to cook in a pan, and you saute it in butter. I've done this, and I've fed it to other people. I didn't think
How do you
I was
cook
going
off
to
a
get the
salmon?
trick
I just
played
gotta
on
know.
me. It's actually it tastes pretty good. It's got a good,
We're going in
That's
in
no
places I
good.
don't wanna be. No.
jalapeno. Throw a little jalapeno on there.
I gotta ask, is it creamy?
No.
Was there a fishy aftertaste?
Stop it.
No.
Could you tell what I was eating the night before?
Okay, well, this
Devolved so fast.
Kurt,
Family show.
Okay. Let's talk about
Okay.
your audio podcast. You do a regular podcast, right? But it's audio.
Yeah.
but wait a second. Wait a second. We can't open
Wait,
that
oh.
door and then just walk away from it that fast. I need to
I
know,
thought I was giving you an out.
is that the weirdest thing that you've ever eaten? And if not, what was?
Parental discretion advised.
Oh. So I calculated one time all the different wild meat that I've had, and the worst thing on the list would be snipe.
Mm.
The
Oh,
absolute
yeah.
worst thing I've had, and snipe, and then pigeon, like a rock pigeon, a barn pigeon, that would be next maybe.
Okay.
And if you shoot some, we have band-tailed pigeons here, and if you shoot band-tailed pigeons, that can cook up pretty good with some cream cheese and some jalapeno and some bacon wrap around it. It's a pretty good way to cook
Okay.
that. But the
Okay.
worst thing, absolute worst thing I've eaten is kangaroo. Terrible.
Really?
Oh,
Terrible.
interesting. Okay.
Nasty. And I've
What's
had
that like?
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
It's just, in a word, awful. Worse
I've
than
eaten
salmon
grasshoppers.
sperm. Grasshoppers,
let's see.
okay.
Grasshoppers, caddis larva. I've eaten caddis larva.
Caddis larva?
Yeah, caddis is a little fly that's found in rivers, and
Really?
they make the larva makes a little case, a little rock case in the bottom of the river, and then they'll grow to about 1.5 inches long, and then you can break that open and use it as fish bait. And then, of course, on a dare, I had to eat a couple.
Yeesh.
A couple.
Yeah.
Not
I had to
just
prove
one.
it, you got to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to prove it.
On a dare, I had to eat 26 of them.
The first 19 are easy.
Those last 5.
Oh my.
Okay, now we can segue away, Kirk.
Actually, hold on. My original question is, what is the dynamic of the camera being around? Obviously, that was a very unique experience of the big crew. But what is your crew like? Like, how does that change a hunt or a fish? Have you gotten kind of used to that, or?
Yeah, I've gotten used to it. One of the things I found out is you can actually kill a big, old, wary mule deer if you got 7 people stalking. Everybody wants to be along.
That's hurting.
It's so weird. I never would have thought that I would put up with this, to have everybody trooping along, but nobody wants to stay behind. And sometimes the deer will not smell you or see all the movement or whatever, and it's surprising. I have gotten used to a lot of things I never would have got used to otherwise. People talking out loud while we're sneaking up on zebras, or
I hate that.
I
Lizards thrive in a loud environment.
I used to lose
though, I
my
hear.
skull over people talking out loud, and
Yeah.
and now it's just, I realize I just have to put up with this sometimes, because some people are too dumb to realize what they're doing. And
Because they're camera people, they're not hunters.
well, it's not the camera people. The camera people are usually pretty well trained at this point.
It's those goddamn cigarette smoking Frenchmen.
Or South African, they smoke a lot too.
Oh yeah.
South African guys, yeah.
Oh man, if I was paying like 10 grand for a hunt in the savannah, and we're sitting there trying to stalk, I don't know, a wildebeest or whatever, and some guy lights up a fucking cigarette, I would lose my mind.
Well, right,
That's
but
what
then
happens.
that guy looks at you and goes, "Do you know how to get back to camp?" I suggest you calm down.
I would hold my
Damn
peace until
cigarette.
we're back at camp.
Well, I have seen this over and over in Africa. I've been on 5 Africa trips, and
Wow.
I've seen a lot of PHs smoking cigarettes, and it doesn't seem to matter.
Huh. Here we are, in North America, being all concerned about spraying our scent hiding sprays all over our clothing, and we got to be quiet and don't move. Oh, hold that fart in. I've been sitting in the same position for the last hour and 15 minutes, and I think my leg fell asleep and has gangrene, but I can't move.
You're just clearly a victim of marketing, then, I guess.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I
Must be.
I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change from that. I'll have to put up with those guys sometimes. And,
Yeah.
sometimes, let's see, Trevor, early in our working together, he brings along a pack of licorice, and we're sitting in a blind in Florida waiting for pigs. And he was trying, trying to get the red vines out. I thought I was going to blow a gasket.
You know what I'm gonna do on my hunting buddy when we go hunting whitetail this coming season? I'm bringing a fucking bag of potato chips with me.
Yeah.
And you're gonna start smoking.
Salt and
And when
vinegar too.
when he looks at me, I'm just gonna go, "Oh, sorry, you want one?"
How rude.
Yeah.
So Gary,
That's
have you
funny.
ever had any issues where, you've just shot the deer, it's down, and then the camera guy goes down and goes, "I had the lens cap off. Could you do it again?"
Yeah. Yes. That's hard.
No.
That's hard. Yeah. In 16 years, that's happened a couple times.
Oh man, can only imagine. Deer walks by while he's swapping the battery out or something.
Yeah, that happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so your audio podcast. Let's give the folks listening here a chance to hear about Gary's audio podcast, where to find it, what kind of guests you have, all how often, all that kind of stuff. If you wouldn't mind, Gary.
Well, that's another thing. The name of my podcast when we first started it was Ballistic Chronicles. And so when I found out that you guys' podcast was Ballistically Speaking, I thought, oh, these.
Well, I can't have that anymore, and immediately changed it.
Those dang Canucks.
But see, yours is BS, and like my TV show is FU. Frontier Unlimited.
There really are a lot of similarities.
Right.
We both quote politicians saying stupid things at the beginning. We both have really, really impressive acronyms for our shows. We're all of us just dynamic personalities. I mean, the similarities are just endless.
We like the lever actions.
We like the lever actions, yeah.
I think we could all grow to love sheep.
So I started the podcast with the idea that I was going to promote the Nosler book that had just come out, and I thought I'm going to do 10 episodes, and then I just couldn't quit. After I'd done 10 episodes, I had to just keep right on going, and I did it because I knew that the content that I was putting out on Instagram was not getting seen by the numbers of people that had been seeing it, because the gun content was not acceptable. And I thought, okay, well, where can my voice be presented and not squashed down? And I thought, well, the podcast is it for me. And during that election that we had in 2020, I kind of woke up, and I kind of realized, oh, life isn't fair, and the things that I believed are mostly not true. and so I'm going to have a podcast where I can talk about the things I want to talk about and not be shadow banned. And I can just talk to the people that I want to talk to. And then maybe I can use some of this as stepping stones to writing magazine articles, which that's worked out kind of good. But I've made friends all over the world, you know, while doing this, and so that's good too.
I will say since we met at SHOT Show, I've been splurging because with my job I'm allowed to do quite a fair bit of driving. And the one episode that stuck out with me the most was using a 410 for waterfowl.
Yeah. Yeah. Sykes Mitchell. Shooting that TSS loads, the tungsten loads for waterfowl. Yeah. Interesting.
It's that, for those that don't know, I love waterfowl hunting for the short time that I actually get to go do it. And listening to that, I'm like, this kind of makes a lot of sense because he brought up some points about noise that flocks coming in. If you have a bunch of guys with 12 gauges going off, they're going to figure out at some point. With a 410, there is a lot of volume that you're not getting. That was one of the things that stuck out with me the most.
Yes,
I'm still not ready to try it, but
I drove by a piece of property today that may turn into a little duck hunting spot. It's 40 acres and it's surrounded by these little small ranches around, mini ranches. And I thought, they're not going to like a bunch of guys in there shooting 12 gauges and they're going to be grumpy and they're not going to be able to do anything about it. But if it was 410s, it might not be as noticeable. So that's a good point.
And we've gotten away from the steel is all terrible, lead was the best. There are some better loads, especially with some of the business stuff that I've seen. So
that's right. Yep.
Pricey though, aren't they?
Pricey for sure.
Yeah. Craziness.
Yeah.
This is hunting and shooting. It's all expensive.
Wow, this is very true.
Yeah.
So I want to know, do any of you guys bear hunt?
Used to.
I still have my first
domestication.
one planned.
Haven't gone out for bear yet.
So Chris, what do you mean by planned? Is that coming up this year?
I hope it's going to come up next spring. I hope. One of our sponsors hunts bear all the time, and he's been inviting me to go bear hunting with him for the last 2.5 years now. And I'm a putz that hasn't taken advantage of it because I've been gallivanting all over the rest of the world. But I think I'm going to be cutting back on my otherwise gallivanting projects. So I might just make time to go hunting with him in the spring next year.
Alberta?
Ontario.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got you.
See if I can do some turkey hunting also.
Yeah.
I'm more of an elk hunter.
Yeah.
Elk, Mike, and then Kurt, you said elk too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say I really enjoy moose hunting. I've been to the Yukon guiding moose up there. Been on some pretty good elk hunts in Saskatchewan here, and some good bear hunts too. I really enjoy watching the bears over bait on a tree stand. They are comical buggers.
Me too. I love that.
Yeah, especially the young ones. They once they kind of get over the fact that you're not gonna kill them, they get used to you, and especially
and then you kill them.
No, they play in that, and it is truly comical, or at least it is to me. I've only ever killed, I think, 3 bears. One was a nuisance bear at my grandparents' farm up north of Meadow Lake, and I killed a 410-pound male black bear with a bow.
Jeez.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I once caught a fish this big.
Yeah.
But elk hunting really does. I love moose hunting, especially up north where you get good vantage points over a lake, something like that, and just their reactions and watching them where they're grunting back at you and waving their heads back and forth. But elk hunting, close quarters elk hunting, when you really get a bull hooked, and he comes at you and he's just screaming his face off, and then you shoot him in the eye.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah. Uke says, I believe Kurt about the bow kill. He looks like that type of dude. Well, kind of used to be that type of dude. Three rotator cuff surgeries kind of took care of my bow hunting for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Derek, do you hunt, Derek?
I do hunt, predominantly elk hunting, and then got a whitetail hunting again this year. So, and I've gone on some random hunting trips in my time up north too, which is always fun. So,
You done any prairie hunting with complete with banjos? I've been involved in a couple of those. Can't say it's my favorite style, but anyway.
also, I'm quite the avid gopher hunter, and most of the time that's in Mike's front yard. So,
there are so many gophers between my property and the neighbor's property and his. You could sit there with a 22 for 3 years, and you will never
you
get all.
gotta have a banjo then.
Yeah.
In the front yard.
No, we have an accordion. It's much more classy.
yeah.
Right. Too funny.
I will say there was the one time we were hunting with Derek, and I'm very glad he didn't shoot that elk. It was
bad
because
spot?
we were hunting on the military base, and they're like, at this time you cannot be here anymore. You have to be off. So it was like 10 minutes till last light, just about. We're like, he could take the shot. I'm like, okay, so they go over the hill and I don't hear a shot and I see them walking back. Oh, we don't have to pack this out and leave it half here and come back in the morning and come back with an escort to do it and dodge all the UXOs that are out there. And
We only found 2 rounds of unexploded artillery. It's no big deal.
Well,
Gary,
the whole
do you have
point
bears
is that it's
around?
unexploded.
Do you have bears nearby, Gary, where you live?
I live right in the middle of the state,
Oh.
just to the east of the Cascade Mountains, and so we have bears not far from here in the mountains. But in this state, most of the bears are over on the coast or up in the northeast corner, and then there'll be a few bears out in the desert, and that's where I live, is in the high desert area.
Well, the
Okay.
bears are commingling with the blue hairs then. Bears
Yeah.
and blue hairs. There's your next podcast.
Black bears and blue hairs.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down.
What is it about? What is it about bear hunting that you enjoy the most, Gary?
He's writing down black bears and blue hairs.
You know, I go to a camp in Minnesota every 4th or 5th year, and that's when we can draw the tag, me and my party, and we hunt out of tree stands, and we use bait, and we hunt only in the afternoon and evening, and in the morning it's breakfast and fishing and a lot of sitting around talking and laughing. And so some of the camaraderie of that is just fabulous. And then in the spring, you know, the days are getting longer, it's warm outside, there's turkeys, so you can hunt turkeys if the turkeys happen to run into you, you can hunt turkeys, you know, while you're glassing for bears. And I like being out on those ridges with the wildflowers popping up, and, you know, a blue sky day, and you don't have to get up early. You know, there's kind of a common thread here. You don't have to get up early.
Yeah.
You can start about 9-10 in the morning and then hunt the rest of the day. And sometimes it's just laying in the grass, you know, with the binoculars, and you're watching the far hillside, and then all of a sudden a bear stands up and he's been there the whole time. So that's those are some of the things that I look forward to.
Mm.
Do you like spring bear or fall bear?
Generally, I like the fall bear hunt better, but man, I do like that spring bear hunt too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you eating bear?
Yeah. So we only eat wild meat here, I mean, as much as we can. And so sometimes there'll be bear meat in the freezer and elk and deer, and we'll eat all the deer and the elk first.
Yeah.
So bear's not your favorite then.
No, bear's not my favorite, but there's been a couple times where my dogs have eaten a lot of bear.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Well fed. Well fed.
Yeah, and
quite a
it's really good for them because of the high fat content, and the same thing that's growing all that long fur on a bear is really good for the dog.
Mhm.
They got some nice shiny coats, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Quite a wide variety of opinions on bear meat, isn't there? You
It
get
really
some
is.
people that,
It
just
comes
love
down
it.
to what the bear is eating. Is really, if it's a
right.
fruit and not eaten bear, then
Mhm.
it's gonna taste better than one that's eaten old salmon
Yep. Yeah. Or garbage dumps.
or garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Folks, don't shoot a bear that's got a diaper stuck to its ass.
It should
Goes-
go without saying, but you know that some bears get shot at the dump.
especially take it off for the trophy photo too.
Yes, right. One
Yeah,
time
it's
we
all
stopped.
matted.
We stopped at a garbage dump in Alaska to see if there were any bears, and we pulled in, looked around. There were no bears. There were a bunch of eagles.
Mhm.
And when we were driving out, I had a van full of guys. There were 10 of us on this trip, and most of them were in this van. And I saw a bear down in the ditch, and I thought, I am not going to say anything to these guys because somebody's going to want to get out and shoot it. And
Right.
it's been eating the lint out of the lint
Out of an old dryer.
dryer lint. The bear poop is green. It's nasty.
Imodium.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, Imodium, absolutely. Well, I don't know if this is the best moment to end our show on, but
We're starting.
well, why not? Let's end it on green bear poop in a dump. Gary, why don't you plug everything that you've got one more time for everybody?
Right.
That should eat up another 27 minutes of the show here.
Okay, well, my two most important books right now, it's Bob Nosler, Born Ballistic. So it's the life and adventures of Bob Nosler, and it starts off in the Northwest Territories, and that's where his story starts. And then my Fishing Central Oregon book, and so those are the two books that are most important for me right now. Also the Bear Hunter's Guide to the Universe. That's my humor book. And then
Wait a minute. That's a humor book?
Uh-huh.
I need that book.
Yeah, you
Because
do.
clearly you're playing on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with that title.
Yes.
What is the secret of hunting in all things? The answer is 42.
See, we got into numerology, and
We did.
I thought we were going to go all the way through without getting into numerology.
Oh, well, then you mentioned a cool book title, so it's your fault. Sorry, you can carry on plugging the rest of your stuff. I won't keep you up.
Instagram, Gary Lewis Outdoors on Instagram, and then the television show is called Frontier Unlimited, and if you can't remember that, it's FU. And the podcast is Gary Lewis Outdoorsman, and you can sometimes find my articles in Rifle Magazine and Game and Fish, and and Sports Afield, and salmon trout steelheader.
That's it.
things
That's
like
all.
that. That's all we're going to talk about.
Did you mention GaryLewisOutdoors.com?
Oh yeah, then there's my website, GaryLewisOutdoors.com.
Might be able to find you there.
Wow, you're a pro.
Yeah, man, my check's in the mail.
Okay, but if you're looking forward to a bear hunt, your first bear hunt, and you're trying to figure things out, what you need to do is you got to come up with your life path number. Okay.
Okay, my
So-
life path number.
Yep. So that's where you
Okay.
take your birthday, so your month and your
05,
day, multiple or
31.
add those.
Oh, hold
And
on. I'm going to do this as you're talking about it here. So
Okay.
5, and you
Chris
add
hasn't
them.
been in a math class in 20 years, so you gotta slow down here.
Yeah.
Well, I know
Okay,
you can
so-
convert the Celsius to Fahrenheit like a champ. so-
Oh, dude, I'm using Google. I'm using Google the whole time. Okay, so I'm at 36. The month and the day added together.
Okay, 3 is that 3 plus 6 or
5 plus 31.
5 plus 31? Okay, so that's 5. So that's 9.
Oh,
5
okay.
plus 3, 5 plus 3 plus 1.
Oh, I got you. Okay, okay.
9.
Oh,
And then you take your year. So if you were born in, let's say, 78, that would be 15. 7 plus 8 is 15.
Okay, so I'm at 9 before we did this. So I'm at 17.
So that's 8. So
Okay.
you being 8, that's prosperity.
That
Okay.
sounds pretty good.
No,
That's
wait a minute. Sorry, I think we misunderstood. I was born in 80. So 9 plus 8 is 17.
Yeah. So 1 plus 17 is 1.
Oh,
plus
and
7.
1 plus 7 is 8. Okay,
Mhm.
sorry.
Yep.
I'll catch up eventually, Gary. You keep going.
Okay, so there you got 8 is for prosperity, so that's pretty good if you're planning on a bear hunt. So that's
Okay.
your life path number, right? So now you're looking at your angel numbers. So that's your highway and your forest road numbers.
My highway,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
as in like the highway that's closest to where I live, or
where you're going to be hunting.
oh
Highway
shit, I don't know.
55.
Okay, 50. Let's say 55. So that's 10.
That's 10. Okay, so which reduces to 1.
Reduces to 1. Okay.
But okay, so
What?
let's say okay,
I'm-
that's but also you
catching
think
on.
about your
Carry the
game
test.
your game management unit number.
Okay.
So
Game management unit? What?
so here I don't know if we
What kind
I
of
don't know-
path are you on, Chris?
Okay, so how do we figure out my game management unit number?
so
What
wherever it
zone?
is
What zone?
what's the zone number of the place where you're going to be hunting?
Oh, geez, I have no idea. Well, where I usually hunt is 57. So 5 and 7 is 12.
Yeah, so 57 you can keep it at 57 or you can reduce it to 12,
Which would reduce to 3.
which reduces to 3, which is optimistic.
I am optimistic.
That's
Well,
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then also you got to think about these numbers that pop up to you throughout
21.
the day. Like, do you have a number that pops up to you throughout the day? Like for me, it's my wife's birthday.
Okay. So for me, it's the number 3. I get tired around 3 p.m. My wife says 3 inches is the best. And that's about it. So it's 3.
Well, I think you're on the right path then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, we had 3 before though, didn't we? Because 3 is optimistic, right?
We did. Yep.
So I'm double optimistic.
Yes. So
Mhm.
Hell yes. I'm
I'm
there.
saying there's a
Stand yourself.
chance.
You're telling me there's a chance.
so there was the time I was hunting in this one unit and it was 86. I don't want to be too
Okay.
specific. The highway also was 86. I 86 to bear with my 30-06.
Yeah.
And I checked and I looked at the milepost number where I parked, and that also lined up. I can't remember what the number was. I didn't write it down because it was so spooky to me. It all lined up. I was afraid to write it down because anybody else could go right back to the same spot if they knew if they had that information.
You didn't want to give away your hunting secret spot.
Yeah, that's
Right.
fair. It's fair.
Right. And then there was a time I was hunting in Unit 59 off the 39 road with my middle daughter, who was 12, which is 3, right? But her
Mhm.
birth number is 11. And that's the thing about an 11. That's, you think about this, Kurt, if you've done some guiding, does your birth date reduce to 11 or 22? Because those are the master numbers. Anyway,
Oh boy.
Jennifer killed her bear in 1 minute after we started calling with a 243. And then that same day we called in a bear for Todd that came in 15 minutes. And again, I didn't write down the numbers because they scared me, because they all just lined right up, and I started doing this for all the days when I've killed bears, and I thought, oh brother, this stuff works.
So,
Maybe
is
I
it
should have
for like
employed that with marriage?
what is the overall?
You keep bringing it back to marriage, don't you, Kurt?
Yeah.
But
Wait
he's
a
not
minute.
bitter.
Wait a minute.
Lining
Wait a
up.
minute.
Um,
How
I
many?
was-
Isn't
that's
this a
nothing to do
hunting
with me.
show?
How many dollars have you paid out in alimony? Does it reduce to 11 or 22?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Billion.
Oh shit.
Since
So-
Gary brought up the word spooky, we have to talk about this.
Okay.
Being you're in kind of the northwest part of the lower 48, Sasquatch, yes or no?
Yeah.
Mm.
You've seen?
Yeah.
Have you seen?
Yeah. I've got some of that
Do tell,
in the background.
because I'm curious.
Okay.
Because
So
I was working northern Ontario, and I seen something. I'm like, there's definitely something out there. So I'm curious what your experience was. Or one
well,
of
for
them.
me, it was 1983, and I was there with a friend of mine. It was on my dad's property, and Dad had 25 acres on the river, and we were there camping, and we were going to try to shoot a rabbit and eat the rabbit for dinner that night. And I'm with the biggest liar that I know, and this thing walked out in the dusk and appeared to us. And it was, if I had to say how close it was 10 yards from us.
Wow.
And it was a female.
Oh, before you said that, I was going to say it was Kurt and he didn't have his morning coffee.
Yeah.
No, it's my ex-wife.
So it just stood there and then left, or what?
It turned around and it walked away walked out to us on 2 legs. It walked away from us on 2 legs, and then it ducked underneath an oak tree limb and went back into the blackberries that it had come out of, into a hole in the blackberries. And so I had smelled it the week before, because I'd been there the week before and I'd found its tracks. But
Mm.
I was 16 years old. I was not experienced around bears, so I just thought the bears have big feet, much bigger feet than I thought that they did.
Yeah.
And I'm smelling this thing, and I thought, man, this smells so bad.
Mm.
Paper stuck to its ass. It's a dump bear.
Don't Sasquatch.
Dump squatch.
Oh, man, that's gotta shake a fella though. When you come across something like that.
And we were camping. We camped that night, and it walked around our campsite all night long.
Gee,
Mhm.
Ooh.
And
that's not conducive to deep sleep.
so then I didn't have anything like that happen for 10 more years. And then it was 1993. and I found scat, and I heard the thing run away, and the scat was so fresh it was steaming hot, and it was huge. And at this point, I still don't. I mean, it's hard to say. You see something, you don't believe in the thing you saw.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
I really didn't believe in the thing that I saw.
Hmm.
And so I just put it in a cupboard in my brain, and I just locked the door, because I was with my friend Jim, and if his mouth was open, he was lying, and
Yeah.
and it's just, there's people like that, and they're your friends in high school, and they grow out of that,
Mhm.
and but what are you going to do with that? And so that was the third time when I found the scat. Didn't see it. And then the fourth time, I was bow hunting by myself, not very far from where I live now. And it was the last day of the season, and I walked down into this meadow, and I just feel this oppression. I just feel this.
I thought you were going to say 2 hands on your shoulders. From
Father Nelson.
Oh man, Gary picked up on that joke way too quickly.
I just felt this fear, and I thought, well, I had felt fear in the forest before. Felt this kind of a sensation before, and I'd always walked away from it. So I thought, I'm going to walk toward it. So I just walked toward the fear until it was just intense. And then here's a dead mule deer doe laying there right in front of me. And something told me, just like something told me, don't look it in the eye, back in 83, something told me, don't touch this deer.
Mhm.
And so I backed away from it, and every step I took backwards, I felt better and safer, and I got away from it. I don't know what killed the deer, but I always just wondered, was that a Sasquatch encounter also? So now, yeah, I believe in it, and I don't talk about it too much. And
here's
29 years.
Here's the thing about the Sasquatch, and we kind of talked about this a little bit when we were in Las Vegas, and I told you the same thing, and I'll say it again. Everybody, I think the biggest critics of the existence of a Sasquatch say, well, like if it was really real, don't you think we would have had conclusive photographs or video evidence or something like that by now? If we don't have video of it, then it doesn't exist on this planet, not in this day and age. And then I think we thought that the Tasmanian tiger on this tiny little island, off the coast of New Zealand, was extinct for over 100 years. And on this tiny ass little island, nobody had seen one for more than 100 years. And then all of a sudden, it was only 20 years ago. All of a sudden they found one wandering around in the wild on Tasmania.
I don't know that it was that long ago. Yeah.
Was it even that long ago? Yeah. Not that.
So.
Well, put it this way, well into the technology age with cameras, So I mean,
I think that's kind of the general arrogance that we have as humans, that we just know everything almost.
Well, right. if we can't find a Tasmanian tiger on a tiny ass little island for over 100 years, what about one of the biggest uninterrupted geographical land masses on the planet?
Not only that, but it's vastly unexplored too.
I didn't really give this. Even after I'd had my experiences, I didn't really give it a lot of credit until I sat through a discussion with by a doctor from British Columbia.
Yeah. Of course, Yuka Kazi just has to go there. LOL, pandas were thought to be mythical until they caught one of those fatties. Watch Yuka Kazi. I'm calling it right now. 2032. Yuka Kazi hits the news as the first man to capture a clear photograph of a Sasquatch.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Asian American man catches fatty Sasquatch in the woods.
Both holding a Bud Light.
Sorry, carry on, Gary.
Yeah, carry on.
Where was I?
You're
Oh,
talking
fuck,
to a you were talking to a doctor from British
Oh
Columbia.
yeah.
Yeah.
I listened to a doctor from British Columbia talk about Sasquatch and the case he made for it. I came away thinking, okay, I think I can come to grips with what I saw and experienced.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And so then that's when I kind of floated these ideas around with people a little bit, and so yeah, I think it's out there.
I want it to be real.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure exactly my motivation for that, but I think I've kind of always been fascinated by it since I was a kid. And Nancy makes fun of me because I watch, documentaries and shows about Sasquatches and that.
Weren't
She
you
teases
watching
me.
one in Vegas, Kurt?
Oh, I may very well have been. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Mike,
we
was
were
he?
100
Yeah, he
100%
totally
he was.
was. Yeah.
Drinking Folgers.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know why I never made that
Trained through a
connection before.
tampon.
Yeah, you definitely were watching a Sasquatch show at one point while we were in Vegas.
Well, it was like that haunt TV channel, so it's just like ghosts and Sasquatch and UFO
Right.
and all of it.
That's
on
right.
one-
Yeah. And it was Ancient
Always.
Aliens with that guy with the crazy aliens, that crazy haired dude, the
Yeah,
meme.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sick. I had nothing better to do.
I had a
Well-
ringtone, the X Files theme song ringtone on one of my phones.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah,
What a great show that was.
I loved it.
Yeah.
You bet.
Fantastic show. Well, Gary, what have we missed? What have we not talked about here?
Oh, I think we've talked about too much already. We better quit.
Yeah.
We got fishing, we got hunting, we got authorship, we got TV shows, we got numerology, we got cults, we got Sasquatches. This has been the best, most well-rounded episode I think we've ever done.
You forgot
Jens
the
would like
Sam
to
sperm.
discuss Alf.
That was, yeah. Well, Sasquatch is just Alf with a pituitary problem. That's all it is.
I'll buy that.
Alf got into some of those 80s steroids and then escaped from the house, and he's out in the wilderness now.
The real dirty stuff, yeah, with
Yeah.
Listerine in it.
Yeah. Well, Gary, you are an absolute hoot. I'm so glad that we met you in Las Vegas. And,
I'm glad I jumped into your van.
uh,
Don't do this, kids. Don't do this. Don't do like I did.
yeah. You know what? Sometimes it pays off like this time, but when it doesn't pay off, boy, does it ever not pay off.
Yeah, that's right.
There's an episode title. Sometimes it pays off to jump in a van.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's the title of Gary's next book.
Yeah,
Mm.
Ju-
Yeah.
I ain't
Jump
going
it.
back to the big house, I'll tell you that.
Jump in the van. Subtitle: One Day in Vegas.
Mm.
Well, Gary, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was absolutely fantastic. I wish you the best with everything. Are we coming on your show at some point?
Yes, please. Oh yeah, as soon as you guys can schedule it, I have a similar kind of platform that you can all come on.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll get it on the schedule as soon as we're off the air here. So
Okay.
when we log off, don't go away.
Okay. sounds good.
Just for everybody else who's watching, if you're still watching the show, make sure you give us a like, a thumbs up, all the things. Make sure you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, Gary's only got a little bit of content up on, obviously not everything. You can't spill everything on the YouTube channel, but there's some really good episodes to watch on his YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to that. It's at Gary Lewis Outdoors 6964. You can see some really good episodes on there. You can catch them on Hunt TV, Wild TV. Just make sure you remember the acronym FU. It is It is. Oh, wait a minute. Now I can only remember FU and I'm blanking.
Frontier
Frontier Unlimited. What the heck is wrong with me? Anyway, make sure you catch that show. Make sure you catch his podcast. The audio version of his podcast is Gary Lewis Outdoorsman. And you can email us if you want to email us info@bspodcast.ca. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/BS podcast. Our website is being messed around a little bit. We're switching hosts and it's screwing things over. It's not going as smoothly as we had hoped, but it is bspodcast.ca. It'll be back up again in another 24 to 48 hours if it's not up already. And if you want to email the Banyak boys, Derek or Mike directly, you can email them Banyak, BANYAK at bspodcast.ca. And if you would like to support the show, because our cocaine habits are expensive, you can support the show directly by getting yourself a storied knife. Get yourself a Gardner storied knife at storiedknives.com. If you're out in the East, I believe that Epic Arms still has some of our knives for sale out East. If you want to save on shipping, it's cdnprecision.com out there. And those knives directly help us support doing what we're doing. And also, by the way, they are good knives. They're not garbage knives. We spent over a year and a half finding a good manufacturer and figuring out the exact good type of steel so that you get the best quality for the dollar that you are spending. So again, that's storiedknives.com. And as always, like to thank all of our sponsors and all of our listeners. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a show in the first place. We're talking about Shane and Steve, Miles, Carrie and Cappy, Duncan and Rob, Phil, Doug and Nisa, Vanya and Carly, Oscar, JR. Thank you all an immeasurable amount. And thanks again to Gary Lewis, Outdoorsman, for coming on the show and chatting with us and laughing and having a great time. And we will see who's on next week, Mike.
Believe Tyler or Rick is on next week.
Rick,
Tyler or Rick. Just let's not tell them who they're representing. It's Tyler or Rick, guys. You're rolling the dice next week. Come on, tune in next week. Roll the dice with Tyler or Rick, and we will see everybody. What is that next week? We'll see everybody next week. Have a good night.
Because I have a shotgun and rifle that I use for, and 22 gauge that I use for ptarmigan, moose, and black bear.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS. Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.